Greetings, y'all. Happy Thursday. I am the Moon Mama, and today the moon is in Gemini for a little while longer. It's going into Cancer at like 3 o'clock this afternoon, which is 6 o'clock in the evening for people on the East Coast. All right, y'all. Let me tell y'all, this astrology is so like, we got Saturn, which is cosmic karma, cause and effect. What you put out comes back. And then we have Venus, which is your sensory system. It's your feelings, it's your value, how you show up to the other. Then we got Mercury, your mind. Then we have the North Node, which is your Dharma. Where are we going? Then we got Neptune, which is your spirituality, which is the essence of who you are, all piled up in one thing happening. While the sun is in Aries, and we're just coming out of an eclipse season, our identities are changing. Our identities are changing. And when I look at the astrology, I go, this is so weird. Like, how could this be? Like, we're actually going to change as human beings. And when I understand history and, I read things like there used to be giants on the earth and there used, all sorts of errors of beings that weren't like us physically, that we have changed as physical beings. And we are in for another morphing. We are literally in a caterpillar to a butterfly phase. We are shifting as human beings. And what's shifting is our consciousness, the energy, the codes of the planet are changing. And this is not unusual. This happens every 24,000 years or so. And it's time again. And guess who's here for it, right? Guess who signed up to be the one to be like, okay, I'm going to do my part. You and me. And here we are. So the thing that's really significant right now for the last couple of days and now for the rest of this day is really understanding the story that you're telling about you. Who do you say you are? How do you show up? How do you feel in your body? How do you interact with this environment? I know for me, I'm a Pisces rising, so I'm very sensitive. The level of sensitivity that I experience has been challenging to carry my entire life. So I've had to shut it down in order to exist, in order to be here, because I was in an environment where my sensitivities were not even, no one knew how sensitive I was, right? Because that just wasn't what was going on. So now as an adult, I am doing the work to reclaim my sensitivities because that is a part of my DNA code, my magic, my powers. In order for me to be able to function as I'm meant to function, I have to reclaim the parts of myself that I put away in order just to survive. There's a mythological story about that I learned when I was doing a lot of studying of the Egyptian Kemetic pantheon. And they would say, if you're standing on one side of the Nile and you have to get to the other side of the Nile, but the Nile is filled with crocodiles, what do? How do you get to the other side? And you can't use a boat. And the answer is that you jump in and you become a crocodile. You actually become the thing that you are attempting to escape in order to get to the other side. Now, the question is, when you get to the other side, can you make yourself back? Do you have the mindset to come back to who you were, who you're meant to be? Can you come back to your original form? And that's what many of us are slated to do at this time. And it is not the easiest work. Am I making sense? Is anybody tracking with me? Do you feel that you are being invited to wake up to aspects of yourself that you maybe denied or put away or didn't see as valuable? I know one of the things, I have this really interesting aspect in my chart, and I think Cosmic Cousins is here. Cosmic Cousins, I think you'll get this. So Cosmic Cousins, I have Neptune in the 8th house in Scorpio, and it squares my Mars in the 6th house in Leo. Neptune in Scorpio square Mars in Leo in the 6th house. And then that Mars trines my Saturn in Aries. So Neptune in Scorpio is all sexual energy. It's all literally sex and creative power. And then Mars is in Leo is this passion. So all my life, I've had this profound, passionate, powerful energy that occurred as sex, that occurred as, because we don't have a whole lot of understanding of energy, this energy would just occur for me as sex. And so because that energy didn't feel safe, and it would create experiences in my life that caused problems, like I'm in friendships and people's spouses hitting on me, or people's, just really inappropriate experiences. So I shoved it down. I suppressed it unconsciously, but I'm aware of of the choices that I made now to cut off my sensual sexual power, because it was problematic, because I wasn't mature enough to understand how to handle it. So what it would show up as is, like I said, I'm friends with a group of women, and one of their husbands is hitting on me privately, right? So, but I'm young, and so I learned to shut that down so that it wouldn't cause the problems. And so now that energy is a part of my life force, and I need it. It's a part of my identity. Now, how will I use it now that I'm mature, now that I have a voice, now that I'm not dealing with trauma? I can use my power in the way that I choose to use it, and not allow it to be used by others. Yes, standing up to my family dynamics. What is the story behind rejection and wanting to be seen? That's absolutely, that's some good work. That's some good work. So while we have the sun in Aries, we have about, the sun is now like halfway through Aries. So what we're doing is we are restoring our identity. We are waking up to our true nature. And this is trial and error, y'all. You know what I mean? Because you get to say who you are. And the question is, do you have the courage to take off all of the labels and the ways that you have bent yourself to fit in? Do you have the courage to unravel that? Do you have the will? Do you have the energy? Do you have the foresight? Do you have the power, the chi that it's going to take for you to become yourself? And what that means is that we are, when we're in our flow, we have infinite energy on levels, is what I'm trying to say. Like, you're connected to the infinite. So you can always access what you need when you are aligned. But when you are misaligned, you cannot access what you need. So your energy will begin to wane. Your energy will begin to deplete. You will begin to have illnesses and mental challenges and depression and all that. And what you are responsible for doing is understanding how the configuration of your energy and how is it meant to flow. So for years, for decades, I have been blocking my sexual energy, which is a part of my life force. And I was blocking it because I am not someone who can flow energy easily when I am in what we call like marriage and committed relationships, because it blocks me, because I then move into people pleasing and like, I have this sexual energy that flows all the time, but now, my partner's boss is here, and I don't want them to be pulled into my energy. So I'm going to cut it down, right? Right. So now I'm in a place where I can open my energy up and really allow it to flow, because I know how my energy is meant to flow. This is why we follow our natal chart. So we understand the code that we are meant to align to. Like if your code is for a tree, you're supposed to be a tree. You're not supposed to be behaving like a rabbit. You know what I mean? But we live in a world under the guise of, like I say, we are in a white man's mind right now, the Western system. And we have all been conditioned to fit the system which we were born into, to serve it, to be in service to the system. So they created, Jesus Christ and Christianity for us to serve that, to give your energy away, to give your power away. They created governments and politics, so you would need to serve that, to follow the rules, giving your power away. They've created these economic systems that we will need to have to work to get money, to give your power away, right? And how do you get your power back? How do you get it back? So, because you're going to need it. That's the thing. The reality is changing. Neptune has moved into Aries. The reality is shifting. The stage is changing. Humans are redeveloping into another. We are in a caterpillar stage, but you must get clear about who you want to be. How do you want to show up? And you can't base it on the external world. It's an internal thing, right? So it's like if I'm saying, oh, I'm gonna be a really rich woman who is fun and free and gorgeous, but I'm not gonna base that upon how much money I have. I'm gonna base that upon my understanding of my code, that abundance is my nature. So I'm going to activate the code of abundance inside of me. I'm going to activate the code of intelligence or genius inside of me. And as I activate it by the rituals and the practices and the studies. And when I activate it, then I become the thing. And then the universe says, okay, she has become the rich, fun lady. So we're going to give her all the things that support that reality. Get it? All right, y'all. The moon in Gemini, the story you're telling about yourself. Just be clear about that. The story you're telling about yourself. And if you don't know, it's a feeling, or it's a fake it till you make it. It's a character you're developing, and you're going to do the work to develop that aspect of yourself. You're going to develop that. So if you don't have to know everything. This is not that. The universe is graceful, you guys. The universe is generous. You don't have to have all the answers right now, but you do need to be willing. You do need to be sincere. You do need to be curious. That is what will open the portal for you to begin to access your true nature. Sincerity, willingness, curiosity. Those are the things that you need. You need to be sincere. You need to really want to be yourself more than you want anything else. Then you need to be curious about what that means. Curiosity is what will get you to the next thing. And then your willingness is like, I'm willing to change. I'm willing to grow. I'm willing to be different. The willingness is the key to it, because there will be so many obstacles. There can be so many obstacles that come against this evolutionary process. So your will break down the obstacles that show up to confront you, to determine if you're really committed. All right, you all. For those of you who are interested in joining Daughters of the 13 Moons, our orientation is on April 17th, and we will be meeting every month we'll meet, for as long as we're doing Daughters. I don't know how long we're going to do it, but for as long as we're doing it, we'll meet every month, the prior days before the next cycle, to share with you how the system works and talk about the community and what we're devoted to and what our intentions are, what we're up to. That is April 17th. And if you are ready to go deeper in your own experience of healing and transformation, and you're ready to, do some coaching around your natal chart, you can just start with your natal chart. We can start there. You can look at my website at healwithmoonmama.com, and I will be willing and happy to support you in your healing journey. And if I am not suited to support you, I know countless women, people who are healers, who are doing the work that I can refer you to, because that's the nature of what we're up to right now. We're all in this together. We're all in this together. I know we're still doing, some of us are still in the throes of, undoing the trauma that looks like racism and sexism and all those deep patterns that are running through our families. But all it takes is one person to be able to say, I'm going to make a difference. I'm going to do it. And when that one it reverberates through the entire family system. It does. It takes some devotion, some sincerity, some willingness, and some curiosity. But when you access that, it makes a huge difference. All right, you all. Healwithmoonmama.com. Peace and blessings. Bye-bye.